Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion. Today's show is The X-Files, and we are looking at Season 8. So, by this point, we of course have John Doggett and Monica Reyes. Now, this clip, this particular focus, we are looking at a just under 5 minute clip, and this is one of my favorite scenes. Well, The X-Files has so many incredibly memorable scenes and storylines. There really is not a dull moment, but there is so much going on here with Agent Scully's character development or expression of how she has already developed due to a relationship with Fox Mulder. And so this is Season 8, Episode 14. This is not happening. So we have, or before I go further, I should say you should watch this episode, please. But if you're okay hearing about the details, already know of them. Fox Mulder turns up seemingly dead. Now we have Jeremiah Smith, which sounds like the most overt alias I've ever heard of. I'm sure there was a time when someone actually was called Jeremiah Smith, but I think even in the 90s that sounded a bit on the nose. So I'm not sure if these mystical creatures were, maybe they just did not care. They wanted to be secretive, but they also were hoping someone would suss them out in some way. He apparently has healing powers of some sort. Agent Scully is somewhat interrogating him. Then she's informed that Fox Mulder has turned up. And
what is it?
It's Mulder.
So she goes to the area where John Doggett is, and she's pleading with him to tell her how badly hurt he is. And John returns with, "It's too late," something along those lines. There's nothing that can be done.
Scully's
How bad is he? How bad is he? How bad is he hurt?
And of course, she's not going to believe that, if only because this is the man who believes in the impossible. Surely he is in some way protected by that. How could this man who is so open-minded not find himself beyond death, but be killed in such a mundane way, lying naked in a field or some sort of outdoor area? Just lying there on the grass. I suppose for Scully it just seemed too final, too obvious, too direct, but also she cares for him. This is Season 8. She has come to know him well, and they've challenged each other. She refuses to believe that he is dead, and so I love one of my favourite parts of this scene is this whole crux, this zenith, is when Agent Scully, Dana Scully, turns around to run back to the house.
He needs help!
It's too late!
He needs help!
Agent Scully!
Jeremiah Smith is her real name, unknown perhaps. And it just, there is so much beauty going on with the honesty and the for a show all about conspiracies and aliens. It always was so honest, so emotionally raw, and so evocative. So there's this music, I presume it's by our favourite Mark Snow. I will check later, but Mark Snow, who of course composed the theme song for The X-Files, is a great composer. So we have someone's music coming in, and that music is just the right tempo, the right beat. But then we see what looks to be an unidentifiable object. It could be military, it could be aliens piloting it, but there it is, and right in front of Dana Scully. Normally, this would be something which would blow her mind, of course, but I just love. I love that honest desperation. This is someone who is so grounded by science. She has her faith in science, that which has been verified, that which can be understood and analysed, but she has this need to be wrong, this need, not just in the usual sense of wanting to be challenged, but it has to be the case that there's something beyond death, or the death can be reversed. So here, I love how in this moment her faith in science has been challenged, and perhaps her faith in her God as well. She sees what is unfolding, and she can see this spacecraft. She knows where this is going to go. And as an alternative imagining, I also like to imagine, what if if we forget about the Jeremiah Smith thing, it would be interesting to imagine if the house was empty or whatever, the aliens were just turning up for a barbecue, whatever, and she sees a UFO and she's chasing after the UFO rather than trying to get to Jeremiah Smith before he is taken away. That would also work well, I think, that abandonment also, at least in the moment of science, or finally admitting that she's so wrong about so many things. I need this not to be a military aircraft. I need this to be aliens. So they have to have the power to resurrect Fox Mulder, because without conventional science, medicine, understanding, we cannot do it. It is beyond us. But as it is, she rushes inside, and I was just watching a clip again a moment ago. I always like that soldier just casually looking up. This is a normal day. There's nothing really going on. It's he seems mildly concerned rather than incredibly concerned. But anyway, the soldiers or FBI guards, whoever they were, looking up, and she sort of somewhat softly, nervously calls Jeremiah Smith's name when she opens the door.
Jeremiah?
Or just before opening the door, and then she opens it, and this is one of Gillian Anderson's finest moments, and she is a great actress in The X-Files and in other shows as well, and movies. But she really lets go. She breaks down and falls to her knees and says, "This is not happening." Hence the title, "This is not happening." It is so thought-provoking because, this is a man. First of all, she was sent to debunk his wild theories, if she would ever have seen them as theories, not in a scientific sense anyway, but wild exclamations, almost deranged nonsense. But anyway, she was being open-minded. She was sent to debunk, but she's doing her job. She's looking for science, but she grows an extremely close bond with him, and they complement each other in so many ways, and also work together so many ways in a more direct sense. Now, she needs him to be right for his sake and for her sake, for her sanity and emotional well-being. This just cannot be allowed to happen. Her science has to be wrong. This is not happening, that she is correct. This is too great a price to pay to know that she was right all this time about lecturing this man that the body decays and dies and there's nothing that can be done. She has to be wrong about that, or he is not actually dead but just dying. He's dying, and Jeremiah Smith can prevent him from actually fully dying. This is not happening. She really sells the scene, and the script writers, the videographers, those in charge of the set, everybody did a good job. The weather seemed to be behaving. I know they often had rainy days while filming. The detail is there despite the darkness. And the voice, the audio. This is very much an auditory experience. Gillian Anderson, she has great facial expressions here, but she's really letting go. You can hear panic in her voice, and you can hear cautious determination, and you can hear her just losing it completely when her friend and companion Fox Mulder is dead, and her only hope of seeing him again lies in his world of extraterrestrial entities or the unknown, it goes against everything she has ever believed in. It flies in the face of her faith, maybe not just her faith in science, but her faith in God as well. She is in someone else's arms. She is in Fox Mulder's arms in a way I'm certain not that long ago, not that long before season 8, she would ever have imagined herself being in. She's fully in the throes of another world. Science was always her universal template. It was always her universal template. It is the grounding. It is something we cannot deny. Science is all around us, but she needs to be wrong, and she's been screwed so terribly. You can hear her wishing to herself, wishing to God maybe, that if I could be wrong on one day, just out of all the experiences I have had with Fox Mulder, let it be this day. Let it be this day where there is something I've overlooked, some sort of enzyme which brings the body back to life, a jolt of electricity appearing out of nowhere. The chances are impossible or very unlikely, but it could happen. Let it happen. And she's going, you can see her panicking, trying to think of something, and she just breaks down so terribly. It's such a moving scene.
No! This is not happening! No!
Saying that this is not happening, and no, this cannot be happening. This is a really great scene. I really recommend it. If you have not watched the X-Files already, then please do start. There are lots of seasons for you to catch up on, or just start watching clips on YouTube maybe and see what you feel about it. But it is a really, really great show. It is much more than about conspiracies. The whole point is it is about truth. Some people feel, well, I know Richard Dawkins was one of the people who felt that the X-Files was about promoting pseudoscience. It was not actually. It wasn't, in a way, it was neither here nor there. Because for one thing, it was a fictional show. But yeah, maybe some people had their predispositions enlarged somewhat. But they would have been predispositions anyway. With regards to negative conspiratorial thinking, because true conspiracies obviously exist, local authorities, government level, and so forth. Within schools, within colleges, universities, it's about huddling together, lying, one liar to lying to protect another, enablers protecting both liars to have a sort of parasitic, symbiotic relationship. Conspiracies are real things. So it's always good to highlight that. But the show was not about promoting conspiracies, of course. It was about fighting them. The show was always about truth. What happened to Fox Mulder's sister? He was the one who's been bogged down with lie after lie, conspiracy after conspiracy, heel turn after heel turn, misdirect after misdirect. He was the one trying to find the truth. And so was Dana Scully in her own way, using science to lead her. It is one of the most beautiful pairings we have in television, without a doubt. It is one of the most beautiful pairings. And interestingly, if you were unaware, Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, played by David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson respectively, they struggled to get on while filming, so they were good actors for sure. But now I suppose because passion can be expressed in so many different ways, I suppose if they have some sort of passion of differences with one another, they could use that to actually, channel that energy into something positive while acting. It's that same energy, that force, that focus, just in a different direction. It makes things heightened in that sense. But thankfully, there are much better terms now. I watched, you may know David Duchovny has a sort of podcast on YouTube. And Gillian Anderson was on the other month, maybe late last year, maybe early this year. You should go check that out. It is completely free. There may be some sort of Patreon version which is longer, but YouTube has 30 to 40 minutes anyway, so you can still get the gist of it. I've not heard the full version, if there is a full version, and I think there may be, but you can hear the gist of it on YouTube. So yeah, definitely check out David Duchovny's channel. Gillian Anderson, she does good work. Also with charities as well, humanitarian issues, that sort of thing. So yeah, very interesting people. David's an author, so being a fellow author, I can respect that. And obviously being involved in acting, I can respect both of them for that world, that beautiful world where on the one hand we are acting and on the other we are not, and there are so many different ways, not just strategies, i.e. method acting, etc., but yeah, there are so many different approaches to acting. Sometimes we really are not acting, sometimes we are acting so much, sometimes we are acting so much that we are not acting, if that makes sense. Sometimes we are not acting at all, and in doing so we're actually acting. There are all sorts of different overlays and stuff, approaches, and depending on why we choose roles, or in my case write roles for myself, but also sometimes reference other people's works, like King Arthur and Professor Oak. I was doing a Professor Oak ad-libbing video earlier today. So yeah, it's fascinating. I always love listening to what other actresses have to say and watching them. I always like watching Andy Robinson on Star Trek Deep Space Nine and listening to his interviews as well. So you get both sides. You can see the product and you can listen to the mind behind the product. You can put the two together and understand his approach. He's very interesting. I love his acting style on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's very interesting. He helps you, when you watch him, you absorb his confidence, and it makes you feel more confident in just daily life. So a sort of semi-acting work, because we all, in a way, we all do act, as in we process things in a certain way. We formulate, if we're not being incredibly spontaneous every 5 seconds, and I'm incredibly spontaneous, the most spontaneous person I've ever met, but obviously even I have natural acting day to day, so for me acting is very natural. It is just a very natural way of presenting certain emotions and ideas. I mean, like when I'm writing my stories, that's acting in a way. It's just on paper. You have different characters all referring to you, your ideas, your fears, or someone else's, someone you met in your life. A character may not overtly represent someone in your life, but it could have been encouraged by something they did or whatever. Our stories, our creative writing is a form of acting. The scripts that I write all refer to ideas, fears, dreams, horrors, and so forth. So we all act in different ways. We all, it's just about creating a concentration of emotion and idea, philosophy, psychology. That is what acting is, whether it is in front of a camera, on paper, or creating video games, or something else entirely. We all act in different ways. I mean, like the waitresses at Cozy Coffee in Northfield, South Birmingham, they are acting in a way. They may not see it, or to a degree they might, but obviously they're, where there's that sense of professionalism, they're creating a certain energy, and they have certain tasks, of course, that once their shift ends, they might mimic some of the tasks. They may still make tea for themselves or someone else, but in a different way and without a uniform, presumably, and so forth. So you have that concentration and expectation of, even if you're ad-libbing or being spontaneous, you're throwing yourself into a role, unless you're doing a zany performance or 600 roles, which I sometimes do, going from one to the next. So yeah, we all act. The actresses at Cozy Coffee, actresses, I'm calling them actresses now because they are in a way, the humans, the people, they sometimes have waiters, but it seems to become all women staff again. I've noticed they seem to have a sexist policy. I'm not accusing them of sexism, and the fact that I like going to Cozy Coffee is a complete coincidence. I was going there when there were men there as well, so I do not go there just because they seem to have just waitresses. I'm not encouraging their sexism, which I'm sure they are not guilty of. There used to be some men working there. Maybe they work certain days, because often I am only there on a Sunday now, so probably they work during the week, which again is a complete coincidence. It really is. But it's nice and quiet on a Sunday, although last Sunday was quite busy, but it's it's not too hectic. I made a mistake, so to speak, of going to Cozy Coffee on a Saturday months ago last year, and it was so packed. I did find a table, but it was just so noisy, and I was slowly going out of my mind a bit. As much as I enjoy people having a good time, I was just not feeling stable enough to be around so many different noises, chaotic conversations and stuff. So Sunday's pretty good. It can be quite quiet on a Sunday if you are in the area and looking for somewhere quiet. But then if everyone does that, then I suppose it will become loud. So, but no, it should be quiet. It's nice, and noise is good. The good kind of noise is good, of course. Yeah. So that they are actresses in their own way. They have that focus of energy. They have a designated task, a script, a performance, even if it's ad-libbed in a way, because something might come up, even if it has come up before. Someone complains that their cheese toast is uncooked, so you have to deal with that, and you may know what to do, who to speak to, which cook to speak to, whatever. But you are flying by the seat of your pants, in that we all are living creatures. We all are being influenced by one another. We do not know precisely what the other is going to say or do, but there's a certain routine. Customers walk in, they find the table, or sometimes they walk to their checkout, and then they find the table. But often people know to find a table, so they've got a number, grab their cheese toasty, their tea, cappuccino, what have you, maybe a slice of cake, walk to the table, pack their bags, read a book, whatever, and then the waitress comes over. It's when you see it, maybe it is because I've watched so much of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where it is very social. They often eat around the Replomats, the Klingon restaurants, and the Quarks. How could I forget the most famous? I was trying to think of his name. I must be a little sleep deprived still. So yeah, Quarks. When I watch the waitresses sometimes at Cozy Coffee, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is. I feel like I'm on Deep Space Nine and vice versa. When I'm watching Deep Space Nine, I sort of think back to Cozy Coffee and link the two together. Those interactions, watching the waitresses move into place as though they're actors and actresses, because in a way they are. They have a path. You may not always see it, but they have a path. They have a set movement, and it is interesting to think about that, how we all are acting in different ways, because acting is simply presenting something, sometimes spontaneously, sometimes with a last minute plan of some sort, where we're trying to express something for some reason, where we've focused an energy so we can deliver a certain message or emotion. So yeah, I recommend watching this. And let me know if you are a fellow The X-Files fan, because it would be fun to talk. And if you are not a fan of The X-Files, that is okay too, of course. Let me know either way what you think about The X-Files, and if you are going to watch it, and how scary it was for you when you were a child, hiding, in my case, not behind the sofa. I remember as soon as the music came on, I would bury my head into the sofa somehow. Because I had this curiosity, I was fascinated. I needed to watch The X-Files, but I knew I would be scared. It was not a case of being a glutton for punishment. I suppose I was trying to, work myself up to being able to view a full episode. I suppose I was about 6, 7, 8 or something. You know how parents talk about hiding behind the sofa during the early episodes of Doctor Who, which from our perspective obviously seems very strange, but back decades and decades ago it was considered scary. For us it was the X-Files, the 90s Charles, maybe some people born in the 2000s. It was the X-Files, that music, that eerie music. And Mark Snow did such a good job keeping it in your mind forevermore. Good old Mark Snow. Good old Mark Snow.